How's everybody doing? This is Justin Simpers with another edition of Keeping in Touch with Your Star Player, which is yourself. If you're involved in sales, you may want to check out my videos. They are a little bit different than everybody else when it comes to sales, and the reason why is because I focus on where is your foundation at. That's what I focus on. So today I'm going to be covering 3 things that you need to do when you are struggling with sales. When you're struggling with sales in general, you're not in a rut, you're struggling getting yourself off the ground. So, really, the most important thing for me regarding sales is the ability to know completely who you are as a person and an individual, to understand, to have that foundation that, you know, if you're a drug addict, you're sober. If you're not a drug addict, then you know completely who you are. It's just like trying to be in a relationship when you don't know who you are. You're getting lost all the time in other people. That's not what you want to have happen in sales. Understand who it is that you are. That's like the number one thing. So always I'm pointing the finger back at myself. I would ask you to do the same thing. Point the finger back at yourself. Analyze who you are. And know what you are working with. You got to know what you're working with. You have to. You have to know who you're working with. Have that foundation, you know. Have a faith in a higher power. Whether you're atheistic or not, figure something out that's a higher power than you, like maybe the ocean. For me, it's not that, but I'm just telling you, you need to have a surrender to something. You have to have it. So you got to point your finger back at yourself. Figure out who you are. And I'm not saying you have to have that completely nailed down to be an all-star salesperson, but it's a constant journey. It's a constant journey. Number 2, go to school in your craft. Whatever it is that you were selling, go to school in. When I was selling timeshare, I didn't know what other resorts were doing, the benefits and what outweighed the benefits on going with somebody else versus me. So when somebody came back to me and said, hey, you know, I think I'm going to go to the Welks and I'm going to buy theirs, I'm going to be like, well, blah, 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 blah. But no matter what, be a school in your craft. You should know your products better than your underwriters do. It's super important to understand that. You have got to be a go-to resource in your industry. It gives you confidence. And I would say the third, and they're all 1A, 1B, 1C, however you want to mix and match, but read a new book. Read a new book related to sales. And then I would also read a book related to sales in your industry. I can't tell you how many times, being an experienced salesperson, I pick up a book on somebody that may not even be as experienced as I am or have the success that I've had, and I learn something every time. Every single time I pick up a book, I learn something. It's just like when newcomers come into my meetings and they share, sometimes they're so insightful. It's just like out of the mouths of babes. When kids say the darndest things that make you think, you never know where that's going to come from. But don't be so cocky that you can't surrender yourself to learning your industry, pointing the finger at yourself, and getting a book and saying, you know what, I'm going to learn something from this. But if you're struggling in sales, look, sales is like the last of the Mohicans, right? It is one of the last industries that's going to let you dictate how much money you make, because that's just the way that it's geared. I remember my friend's dad was a neurologist or a neuroscientist or whatever it was, but he made a lot of money, and he knew I was not a neuroscientist in high school. And he said, you need to go into sales. My cousin's dad, God rest his soul, told me when I was in high school, you need to go into sales. Anyway, thank you guys for letting me share. Happy Thanksgiving. And submit any questions that you may have. I'm here to answer them.